Sabah everybody and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about the Realme GT 5G. This by far, so far I would have to say, is one of the sexiest smartphones I've seen to date. And that's because of the design that we have here. This is reminding me a lot of the OnePlus concept phone from a couple of years ago, as well as actually the Find X2 Pro from last year from Oppo. So there stands to be said here is there's a lot of heritage that brought this device into our hands. So let's go ahead and talk about all of the things that make this device special, as well as the fact that we are running a giveaway, actually a big giveaway for this smartphone on this channel. This is TK and this is the Realme GT 5G. Like and subscribe and make sure you hit that bell icon so that you're always notified to whenever we have new videos on the channel. So here is our packaging. Last Saturday we did a quick unboxing and initial impressions of the brand new GT over on the Saturday Morning with Tech. And we of course announced about that giveaway that's going on the channel. This device is obviously offering us a lot of specifications that we typically find on flagship devices. Specifically, we're talking about the Snapdragon 888 as the processor. There's going to be a variant of 8 or 12 gigabytes of RAM with either 256 or 128 or 256 gigs of internal storage, dual SIM support, a 4500 milliampere battery supported with a 65-watt charger. That's the super dart charger that we have included in the box. Now we also have the USB-C to USB-C cable that gives us the ability of charging and of course transferring data over to it. The cameras on the back are a triple camera setup, that we'll talk about that in just a second. And of course, that iconic design that basically reminds me a lot of I would say McLaren kind of aesthetics, or even, like I said, the OnePlus, I would say the McLaren edition or the concept one that was briefly shown at CES a couple of years ago. Now, when we were looking at the display, we have a 6.43-inch 1080p 120 frames per second or 120 hertz refresh rate display. Again, the 888 is powering this device, and again, depending on the storage and the RAM capacity, you're able to find them from 8 to 12 gigabytes of RAM, 128 to 256. And of course, this is going to be at a 1080p resolution with a punch hole camera on the top left. I think the best position to have. On the right side, we have a button here that is accented with a little bit of a yellow tint. You can kind of see it right there, so it matches the yellow on the back. On the top, we basically have one of the microphones and pretty much nothing else. On the left, we have a volume rocker, a dual SIM tray capable of supporting 5G, depending on the market that you're in. On the bottom, we have a headphone jack, a full-size 3.5mm headphone jack, one of the microphones, a USB-C, and of course, the bottom firing speaker. Now that's married to the top earpiece to provide us with a stereo experience for content consumption and enjoyment. We also have Dolby support here for audio as far as the audio tuning, and of course, it comes out with Google Play services as it's actually an international version of this device. In the box, we get a clear case to help us protect our device. We also have the dart charger here, the 65-watt dart charger, USB-C to USB-C cable, and last but not least, there is also a screen protector that is present that is already pre-applied. So you have a protection on the front, and now we have protection on the back. And the last thing I do want to mention is that they did include in my package basically the super dart charger that is a 50-watt slim design, included with the cable that I feel like should have come with the device. So this is a yellow and black, matching the GT color that we hear with the Realme GT 5G. This one is pretty much just a white cable with a white charger, so you can keep these at home, and if you're out and about, take the slim charger, which charges at 50 watts, and of course the really nice customized cables. And as far as the cameras that we have here, the primary shooter on the back is a 64 megapixel sensor, an 8 megapixel ultra wide, and a 2 megapixel macro lens. On the front, we have a 16 megapixel front-facing camera. Now, the front gives us a 1080p resolution video. On the back, we're able to go all the way to 4K 60 frames per second. And there's a little bit of a caveat, and we'll cover that when we start talking about the camera app. But as far as what we get here with the display, this is definitely one of the nicest displays I've seen on a device like this. Overall, again, 6.43-inch, not the largest display on the market, but definitely 120 frames per second refresh rate. Very fast and very smooth resolution. We are looking at the Realme UI 2.0 on top of Android 11. So that's going to be the latest security patch update of May 5th. So the overall experience here, again, global edition, you can install any application. You have access to the Google Play Store. You can update your applications, install additional ones. And I've installed a number of applications, obviously social media applications, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, as well as obviously these are some of the pre-installed ones. I installed a few games, Call of Duty Mobile, Genshin Impact, and PubG Mobile. There is a game space. This is kind of like their gaming center that enables us to actually not only set the performance of the device by going either pro gamer, balanced, or battery saver, but also gives us the ability of customizing the experience as far as notification. We'll talk about that a little bit more once we get into the gaming. So let's go ahead and bring this down. Gesture support, of course, a lot of customization options. So we can definitely go in here, customize our SIM cards. 2 SIM cards supported right now. You can definitely see the 2 signals that I have on the top right. And if I swipe down from the top and remove it, we're able to get get 4G LTE on T-Mobile here in the US. So that's one thing to keep in mind. So right now it's showing us as H. Give it a second, it'll switch over to 4G. Personalization, pretty standard. You can go in there, customize the wallpaper, the always-on display, the icon pack, the app layout, the fingerprint sensor, animation, color, as well as notification light for the edge here. So definitely looks really nice. And of course, the accent color if you want to customize it, as well as the shape of the icons. All of those things are pretty standard. Home screen, lock screen, always on display, customization, sound, vibration. We do have Dolby support here, as well as the ability of customizing basically, battery mode, battery saver, extended. Storage on this is 128 gigs of internal storage. And again, there's a different model that goes higher. Additional settings, you can customize the language, the keyboard, accessibility, video beautification, schedule on and off. If you want to use an OTG adapter, you do need to turn this feature on. And of course, you can actually add other options here to customize the experience. Software updates about the device, if we click that on. So the Realme GT is the name, version 2.0 of Realme UI, Android 11 is the main system, Qualcomm Snapdragon 888, 8 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of internal storage, and again we have dual SIM support, and the model number is RMX2202. Now that we talked about the specifications, let's talk about the cameras. Again, triple camera setup in the back and a single camera in the front. Although for the most part, I feel like we're primarily going to be using the main sensor, the 64 and the 8 megapixel ultra wide from the back, and of course the 16 megapixel sensor in the front for the best images that we're able to do. We're able to shoot 4K 30 frames per second as well as 4K 60 frames per second on the back sensor, so we switch over to that sensor. So the best resolution that we're able to shoot here is 4K 60 frames per second. We have 4K 30, 1080p 60, 1080p 30, and of course 720p 60 as well as 30. On the front facing sensor, if we switch it over, we pretty much just have 1080p or 720p 30 frames per second, and I'll give you guys a quick sample of those. We have a night mode, of course. We have the ability of doing photos, portrait, full 64 megapixel sensor images on the back with AI optimizations on the back, dual view, movie mode, text scanner, ultra macro, of course, using the macro lens on the back, expert mode for professional images, well, obviously, and of course, slow motion and time lapse and panorama. But let's not waste any time. Let me give you a quick sample of the front-facing and the back-facing sensor on the Realme GT. We're going to start off with the front-facing sensor on the Realme GT. Now, this one's capable of shooting 1080p 30 frames per second resolution video. That's going to be the maximum we can get. We do have some stabilization on it in case you want to basically do a walk and talk type of an experience, but overall, that's the best that we can do here. Let's switch over to the back-facing sensors, where we have a few other options all the way up to 4K 60 frames per second. Now we're using the primary sensor on the back. This is a 64 megapixel sensor capable of shooting all the way up to 4K 60 frames per second. Now, I'm shooting right now at 4K 30 frames per second because they seems to be, you lose some of the focal length when you're using the 4K 60 over 30. For some reason, they punch in on the image a little bit more. So where I am right now would probably be a little bit more like this if I go in. So overall, you're able to shooting 4K 60 if you're actually behind the camera, but if you want to be on camera, 4K 30 is going to be the best. Now, I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys are wondering, how does the internet speeds have been performing on this device? Now, overall, most of the time I'm running on HSPA+, which essentially is 3G, but even there, we're able to get some decent speeds depending on where you are. All of these, by the way, are on T-Mobile in the Los Angeles area in California. The last one I was able to run here was 4G LTE, again, 27 down, about 1.08 up. So overall experiences as far as using this device on T-Mobile, it seems like it's working. Unfortunately, no 5G connectivity. That's one thing to keep in mind. But again, 4G LTE can actually be pretty good, but you want to make sure to check the bands that are supported in your area before you pick one of these guys up. Now, of course, we saw what we did with the cameras. Let's go ahead and talk about, obviously, audio and how does the audio perform.
Jack it up.
Definitely sounds pretty good, actually. The speakers are pretty decent. Now, one of them is faring away from us and the other one is facing us. So I just want to keep in mind that that's how the experience is pretty much set up here. Now, under notification panel, you can see almost all the customizations. So the O1 Ultra Vision engine to improve the images. Dark theme is turned on as it's supported here. And of course, we have the ability of using Realme Share, Do Not Disturb, personal hotspot if you want to turn on, screen recording, system-wide, Dolby configuration, you can turn that on, as well as we now also have the ability of turning on GT mode. And this is slightly different than what we get within the gaming system. So if you notice your system is running a little bit slower, you can customize it directly from the home screen or turn on the GT mode specifically from there. If you want to turn it off, just turn it off. Otherwise, it does consume a little bit more battery. Let's jump into the gaming experience. And overall, I want to share with you guys, of course, how has the gaming been performing here? One of the things that they did announce was the fact that even though we're running the 888 chipset here, the cooling system that we have in here has definitely been optimized to handle some of the temperatures that the 888 can provide. We know that the 888 is at somewhat of a hot We know that the 888 typically runs a little bit warm whenever we're playing in heavy-duty games for an extended amount of time. So the game space, as I showed you guys at the beginning, you're able to customize your experience. Again, performance mode would be the best experience that you're able to get. I did install Call of Duty Mobile, PubG Mobile, and of course Genshin Impact, just to kind of see how does the device do as far as temperatures. So, and I'm glad to say basically that overall the experiences here are definitely very nice. Now we currently don't have 120 frames per second gameplay on the Call of Duty game, but hopefully in the future we'll be able to get that compatibility, as I know there's other devices on the market that do support 120 frames per second. As far as resolution and gameplay, the best that we're able to do here obviously is very high and max. It's just going to be the best resolution and the best gaming experience we're able to get directly on the Realme GT.
Contact with enemy. Reloading. He's back up. Tango down. He's back up. Target down.
Oh.
Reloading.
Enemy UAV spotted.
I'm hurt.
Recon ready for deployment.
Need backup. Need backup. Target down. Grenade. Enemy down. Contact with enemy.
Explosive puppet Barrett Bunny.
The one thing to say as far as the temperatures when we're playing games for an extended amount of time, we're using one of my heat guns here. Again, playing Genshin Impact for the last 25-30 minutes or so, as well as Call of Duty Mobile. You can expect about roughly about a 120, 122, depending on the area where the surface is. Now, I will say this much, that the actual leather, the vegan leather that we have in here, does definitely help a little bit with the temperature. You can definitely see here it drops quite a bit. So if you're holding the phone and you're holding it in a nice position like this, where you're not actually putting your finger on the glass, it seems like it actually does perform quite well. The fingerprint sensor works great. There is a little bit of temperature on the display. That's typically expected, again, with gaming on the 888. But this device definitely offers us great performance when it comes down to just the overall aesthetics, the shape, the design, a lot of the benefits of the Realme UI 2.0, and of course, just overall great capability. Again, I'm running 2 SIM cards right now, both on T-Mobile, and you can see that they're both connected. So I did run a few benchmarks on this device, and I ran them in 3 different modes. So let's go and jump into history. I ran them in standard mode, meaning I didn't have anything on, like not even the GT mode that we have built in here. So I ended up running it standard, so it came up at 1115. When I ran it with the GT mode, we went down to 1112, but the multi-score went up a little bit. And when we went with the performance mode in the gaming system, meaning I went into the gaming space here, and I initiated the performance mode here, and then, or pro mode, and then I launched the game bench, I was able to actually get up all the way to 1124 with 3154 as the multi-core. So definitely a big improvement overall if you're using the performance mode. And of course, keep in mind all of this, everything works pretty much the best when we have it as full speed essentially, but battery will be consumed a little bit more. So if you don't want to run performance mode, the next closest thing to it would be GT mode. By just turning it on, it gives us the ability of turning on this nice little feature, and it gives you more speed, and of course better performance on the Realme GT 5G. Now, the last thing I wanted to share with you guys real quick was something that literally just got updated as I was filming this video for you guys. And it was actually a feature that was added, and I've seen this on other devices like the brand new Reno 6 Pro that was just released in China. And that's the ability of increasing the amount of RAM on our device. So this device comes with 8 gigs of RAM. Again, there is another version that goes up to 12 gigs, but this one only has 8. So if I go actually under About Device, you'll notice that there is 8 gigabytes RAM here available. And then there's a little bit of a blue text next to it. Now, the blue text says here plus 5 gigabytes. And that's because when you click it, you have the ability now of doing RAM expansion. And that's by utilizing some of the internal storage once available to be able to expand and add additional RAMs to the system, essentially. Now, this means I can go from 2, 3, up to 5, and we do need to restart our device and turn this feature on. Once you turn this on, select the amount of RAM you want, and then restart your device, and then you're pretty much set. You just increased the amount of RAM on your device just by using the internal storage that you have in there. So, the Realme GT is definitely a well-rounded smartphone. The price that they're asking for is definitely way under the value of what you're getting with this smartphone. And what I mean by this is that we're getting some flagship specifications, the 64 megapixel sensor, the 120 Hz 1080p refresh rate display, the 888, 8 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of internal storage. Again, different compatibility, different sizes and pricing will be available. A full-size 3.5 millimeter headphone jack that's present in there. So I've been also enjoying them with the Realme Buds 2 directly from Realme. They included that in my package. So really good active noise cancellation, of course, ambient sound. But overall, this is a smartphone that's trying to give you way more than what you're paying for. And I feel like they delivered. Now, the temperatures that we have on the Snapdragon 888, this is again part of what the 888 chipset is. It's just unfortunately something that we'll definitely need to be dealing with. It does run a little bit warm, although I do feel like the textured skin, the vegan leather skin that we have on the back definitely reduces the temperatures on the back. But overall, as you saw, there was no issues in the gaming, no throttling, no concerns over there. Realme UI handles everything pretty good. So, as far as the giveaway, if you guys have made it up to this point, I do want to say, and I will actually make this announcement here first, is that initially I made the announcement on the giveaway earlier last Saturday, and I thought that they were giving out 5 of these devices, 5 Realme GTs. And I was actually later on corrected, and they said they are actually giving away 10. That's 10 Realme GTs. So the giveaway that we're going to be ending at the end of this week, we're actually going to be selecting 10 winners, not 5. So definitely a big change into this, and I hope this excites you as much as it excites me. There'll be a link in the description below, of course, for more information on the giveaway. But last thing I want to mention is that, thank you very much for the support. Thank you to Realme for collaborating with me for this giveaway, and I wish you guys the best of luck. Like and subscribe as usual. Thank you very much for the support, and I'll see you in the next one.